is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Susan Sims. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for coming over
me.
to my house on your day off on a Saturday.
Yes.
You're with Practice Dynamics, and there's when I think of Practice Dynamics, I think of Lacey Phillips, who I love, and I was shocked that Lacey didn't talk you into showing up with a fancy hat.
I heard about that.
She's the only classy woman in all of dentistry who wears big hats. Something that was lost in the 20s. She's in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where my best friend Craig Steichen from dental school is. We just lectured out there with him, and then you got Bonnie Pugh from Florida, who I think is one of the most amazing numbers crunchers in dentistry.
She is phenomenal.
You show her the numbers of a practice. She doesn't have to meet you, see you, whatever. She can flush out through the numbers what's going on.
I'm glad I have her in my back pocket. That's for sure.
And then you're out here in Scottsdale.
Yep.
Where all the rich people live. Thank you for coming down to poor Phoenix, Arizona, where I live. I know you had to pass a lot of trailer parks to get here, but I'm down here with my my homies. Being from Kansas, I could have never lived in North Scottsdale. I just couldn't.
Well, technically, it's Phoenix.
Technically, it's Phoenix?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're also with Jewel Hutsdale out in Sacramento.
Yes.
So it's the four of you guys.
Four of us.
Yep. So thanks for coming to my show. What I like to do, keeping it real, every dentist knows them and their office and all that stuff. And they're right now they're on a commute to work. And they got an hour commute and they're commuting down and they're probably wondering, well, obviously you guys are successful. You guys have been doing this for years and years and years. Lacey and Bonnie, let's just say they're older. They couldn't be my child. Let's just say that. They're in the same age range as me. I shouldn't say that either. That might be controversial. But why are dentists calling dental consultants? And what are you guys doing to help them?
So we have a balance-driven success is what our motto is. And basically we feel that, you have to have balance throughout the entire office. So we kind of look at the whole picture. As Bonnie always says, the numbers speak for themselves and they will tell the story. So we look at numbers, and then we also have a bunch of different workshops that we can laser focus in on certain things that are going on in your office. And then we also do like hand holding. If you don't want to jump into the full Practice Dynamics program, there's also, you can have us just pull your numbers and kind of coach you along and let you know, okay, you're doing good here, you need to improve here. We kind of, our philosophy of coaching, not necessarily going in and hand holding the whole time. We want to give you different analytical tools to use and implement in your office rather than sit there and feel like we have to always be with you. We want to give you tools to learn and grow and build on. So that's kind of why I think Bonnie and Lacey have been really successful, is because they're able to get in there. They can look at the big picture and coach people along in a kind, fun, and very analytical way. But I think that's where they're successful.
Yeah, and we've had those them on our show too. I think Lacey was 331. And Bonnie was 397. Were those taped in Vegas?
Yeah, the second one was both of them, and it was taped in Vegas.
Yeah, so 331 and 397 are the other two. And it seems like, the problems are always changing. When I got out of school, overhead was low, 50%, only 25, half of that, 25 went to labor, and it was indemnity insurance. You sent them your fee, they paid 1%. Now, 82% are on PPOs. A lot of dentists will look at their overhead and say, well, my number one overhead is 28%. And I'm looking at the number saying, well, dude, your P&L doesn't even show that. You've already adjusted off 40% of your fee on PPOs. Your number one overhead is PPO adjustment, which is 40%. Then your staff's coming in at like 28. And so it seems like a lot of dentists are having, I see this problem a lot where the staff's been with the doctor for 20, 30 years.
Right.
So they've gotten a raise every time the earth went around the sun, because, a good raise is based on astrology and the earth position of the sun. And so the staff just keeps getting more expensive every year while the PPOs keep lowering their fees.
Yeah, insurance has definitely changed, especially with, I don't want to talk about politics right now, but since the Obamacare, things have definitely changed and it's gone into dentistry, wouldn't you say? So, I mean, there's a lot of ways that people are trying to combat that, but I think the biggest thing with insurance is that it ends up being this great big ball that gets bigger than life itself in the practice, and a lot of people get lost, and it's really hard to keep track of everything. Recently Bonnie and I were in a practice here in Scottsdale, and it was just a complete mess. The doctor was, her 90 days and over was crazy, and she was just trying to figure out what was going on, and Bonnie was able to go in there and just, it's really hard when you're working in a practice to be able to see things, really what's going on, because you're more worried about, which if you're a dentist, kudos to you, because you need to be worrying about, the work that you're doing and performing in the patient's mouth, but it's much bigger than that. And when you start to have problems and they start to fester and you think that your team has got it together, and maybe they think they have it together too, but when you start to look at the numbers and you see, oh wow, let's take a look at this, this is really far off. What happened was Lacey and I were able to take a look, and they were accepting insurances that they weren't even contracted with, and they had no idea. And we're just like trying to just start at the simple things. That just look at, like, do you have a contract? Are you doing the right write-offs? Are you looking at collecting the correct information and getting all this stuff together so you don't have insurance claims that are just hanging out there pending, and you don't even know. There might be 90 days and over in your insurance, but why they're sitting there. You have to figure out the whys. And I think that's where, we're pretty strong at getting down in there and looking at, just the mechanics of what's really happening.
Hello, Greg.
Hello.
Greg knows that you're Irish, so I think he went on a beer run to get you a beer because he knows it's just past noon. If we think about 20% of our podcasters are actually juniors and seniors in dental school.
Oh.
Podcasting is a little thing. Old guys like me read books, which they find boring, and they prefer YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff like that. But if you're still in dental school, I want you to remember that if you have no natural interest in running the business, then it might be the best thing for you to go get a great job as an associate. And it doesn't have to be some big corporate chain that's coast to coast. I know 35 corporate chains have 50 offices or more. It doesn't even have to be that. It could just be an associate for someone. But you either have to recognize you have no natural interest in running a business. Mm-hmm. But if you don't want to work for somebody else because of your territorial instincts or whatever, my pet peeve, and the reason I keep having consultants come on, is because, I know my homies. I'm a dentist too. I'm as messed up as a dentist as all of them, meaning that they all want to go buy a laser or learn how to place implants or bone graft. I get it. I'd rather pull 4 wisdom teeth. I can't think of anything I'd rather do than 4 wisdom teeth. Really. But if they're not going to take an interest and do that, they got to get an office manager and they got to get a consultant. And I look at so many dentists who think that they're going to solve their overhead by learning how to place implants. So they go buy a $100,000 CBCT. They go spend $50,000 with Arun Garg in the Dominican Republic. They buy a bunch of all this stuff like that, and it's like 2 years before they've sold a $1,000 implant. They've dug themselves $200,000 down.
Right.
And I still believe, and I'll always say this, I always think the number one return on investment that any dentist can buy is a damn consultant to come in there and spread the lines between make the income revenue go up and the overhead go down, and then you're in the gravy train. And then once you're in the gravy train, you can do all that shit as a hobby.
Yeah. Well,
but they think they do all that shit to solve all their problems. And if your house is not in order, you can't get poised for growth. Get poised for growth, get profitable, get the team, then go play root canal and Invisalign and place your little bone grafting and all the stuff that they want to do.
One of my biggest successes with the practice was someone who actually called me for social media help. And I was like, okay, great. I went in, I'm like, let's just do is it okay if I just come in and observe your office and I kind of get a feel and, I'll know what your personality is and, we can go from there. And it clearly was evident to me that, why are you going to waste all your time and energy on that when what you really need to do is look at the basics. I'm like, you're going to use social media because you want to try to attract new patients. Counter new patients, you're going to be wasting your time if you get them through the door and you're not going to keep them. I'm like, that's counteractive of what you really want to do. So what we ended up doing was I ended up helping him take a look at things, and it was just a matter of just basic little things that he thought he was doing right and feeling good about. And we had some hard conversations about, the flow of the paperwork, for even just little things like that. You have like paperwork that they're answering the same questions on 50 times, and then you sit them in the chair and you're asking the questions again on papers that you already have. So it's like just little things like that to help them figure out how to have better patient care and thinking about everything as far as, it's not always about getting all those new patients through the door. It is about having patient care, and that's what did it for him. He increased his production by 400,000. He's a happy guy, and it was just like a couple small tweaks that, and he's been practicing for a very long time, but he just got lost in his business and things were going fine, and all of a sudden they weren't. So he didn't know what was going on. He just thought the answer would be new patients. So that's why I think coaches are awesome, because we can look at the whole picture. We've been in tons of offices. We have the experience and the knowledge that we can bring to the table. I think that's a really good thing.
What cracks me up is, one of the most, Ryan, did you give me the list of those forms? On Dentaltown, I ran a report on so we have 50 forms. Mm-hmm. So this is the most active, number one most active form is implantology. It's had 660,000 views this month. Then number 2, pediatric dentistry, then restorative dentistry, endodontics. Number 5 is practice management. So the dentists are interested in placing implants, working on kids, restorative dentistry, and practice management is number 5. Yet when you go into their office and you say, well, what's stressing you out? Is it your endo? Is it your fillings? Mm-hmm. They're like, shit, no, it's my overhead. It's chaos.
My team.
My hygienist is fighting with the assistant, and they both want to raise and all this stuff like that. But they're not naturally inclined to focus on that. Mm-hmm. And it's just amazing how they, like I say, I'm a dentist too. I understand if you're a chef, at the end of the day, you want the most rocking hot recipe on a lasagna. You mm-hmm. don't really want to understand what your food cost should be.
Yeah.
But when you come from where I did, where my dad had 9 Sonic drive-ins, everybody in that whole institution knew that food cost was going to be 31%, and crew labor was going to be 18%, mm-hmm. and marketing and locally was going to be 5%, and you're going to chip in 2% for national Sonic drive-in marketing. Everybody knew their numbers. And those leaders were brutally hard, where they just said, this is your numbers, and we're going to do those numbers. And everybody knew their numbers. And the cash register back then was NCR, National Cash Register, and uh-huh. that cash register had more business knowledge in a cash register when I was 10 working for my dad than Dentrix or SoftDent does, and now I'm a grandpa. And they don't know their numbers, and every time Dentrix and SoftDent asks them, well, what do you want us to do next? They're like, let's be able to change the treatment notes from fuchsia to black, and uh-huh. It's like, dude, what it's just so frustrating. And then these guys are stressed out of their mind and drinking beer on the way to work, mm-hmm. and they don't realize that it's the economic turmoil that's going on in their office.
Yeah, I agree, because most doctors, they're like, oh, I'm going to hire another assistant, or I need another hygienist. We need another day. I'm like, well, how do you know that? What's are you most of them? I'm like, so can you afford it? And they're like, well, I'm doing fine. I'm like, well, how do you know you're doing fine? So it's a lot of that. Like, I agree with you totally.
Well, just ask them when their hygienist gets done. That you say, okay, you did a cleaning and an exam and 2 bite wings. What was the total revenue? And then they'll say something like 120, not knowing that they're collecting 8 to 12 different PPO prices. So the price they tell you is usually a random price out of error. And then when you show them the PPO, 2 things: they sign the PPO contract without reading it.
Yep.
And
Don't realize they're signing up with 10 other at the same time. Right?
I know. On Dental Town, every day someone discovers that by accepting this PPO, I mean, they take the PPO plan just like they hit the accept. When Apple wants to update my iPhone, I don't read it. I mean, because what am I going to do? Negotiate with Apple?
Right.
So they accept the PPO plan just like it was the...
On automatic renewal.
Yeah.
And not even realizing that.
Yeah, and then they're saying, oh, I've just been automatically enrolled into the state's Affordable Health Care Act or Obamacare or whatever, and then they can't even get out of it until they have a written notice, and then when they receive the written notice, they might not be able to drop them for a year or 2.
Yeah, your profit margins definitely will drop then.
So again, either you only got a couple choices. If none of this interests you, go be an associate, have a great job, 8 to 5, be a soccer dad, cool. If you say I can't work for someone else and I own my own business, you can't go to a TMJ course and a sleep apnea course and a laser course every weekend when you don't even know what your break-even point is for a cleaning, exam, x-ray, crown, root canal. I mean, I'll say it 1,000,000 times.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And then also...
Oh, and no, I got to say one thing.
Get it.
But as much as dentists are hard on their own business deals, the healthcare, our 1 million MD brothers and sisters, they're in twice the shithole the dentists are. Dentists, vets, and chiropractors is 100 times closer to a Hyatt Regency and a McDonald's and a franchise than healthcare. Like when I seem to go to the hospital about every 8 or 10 years for a kidney stone.
Oh, fine.
Have you ever had a kidney stone?
No.
Yeah, and anyway, it's no big deal. It just feels exactly like someone comes up behind you with a 6-inch knife and stabs you in the kidney. Oh. And whatever you're doing, the next thing you know, you're literally on the floor with tears running down your eyes.
Oh my gosh.
And the first time I went to the hospital, I couldn't even get out of the car. Some big, huge nurse had to come out and pull me into a wheelchair, and I'm cussing, and all of a sudden we roll in there. And
he's cussing?
The doctor, I mean, she looked like she was still in high school. And she goes, "Oh, you poor thing, you got a kidney stone." I said, "Well, how the hell would you know that? You don't. I haven't even said a word." She said, "It's the only thing that makes a grown man cry." I said, "I'm not crying." She said, "Look at your shirt." And I looked down at my shirt. The whole top of the shirt was wet because my ears just jetting water out. But anyway, the point is, when I was in that hospital, I don't want to say which hospital it was. I wanted to get back to Banner Hospital on the I-60 in Tempe, and I mean, I was in there for, when I walked in there, before I met a doctor, it was like 17 hours.
Oh, wow.
And then once I met the doctor who started deciding what to do and everything, I mean, it was like every 4 to 6 hours, some nurse would walk in there and say, "Okay, now what is your name?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm naked in a shirt, whatever the hell that thing is,
with a knife in my."
I got wristbands on both arms, and you're asking me my effing name. And then they're asking. So you're talking about, they go into the dental office, they answer these questions, and they go back, and the hygienist asks them these questions, The dentist asks these questions. No one is focused on the new patient experience, and that's why. You don't ever meet anyone that says, "Man, I went to the hospital. That was like a 5-star restaurant."
That was awesome.
That was really well run. Everybody in the whole United States. My God, I went there. I waited 4 hours in the emergency room, and I'm taking my boys in there, and here I am, lived in the same address, the same everything, the same insurance, and they're asking me where I live. I lost it at the Department of Motor Vehicles about 5 years ago. Every time you go in there, they ask you your name and your address. I said, "Dude, I'm a U.S. citizen. I've lived in this house for 29 years. I pay $1 million a year in federal taxes, and you're freaking asking me my address? You should be sending me cookies." I mean, how do you not know this basic stuff? And that's the new patient experience that they need to focus on.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just while you're kind of on there with the healthcare dental, how about patients coming into the office, into the dental practice, and being like, "You're 10 minutes late." there's the difference between being in a medical setting versus a dental setting. For patients, they feel like they don't have to pay, but it's like it's medical and dental, that whole thing. Do you experience that in your office?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And back to the medical. I mean, the medical, all the doctors I go to, every single one of them still has the glass wall, the sliding deal, and 9 times out of 10, the woman sitting there will slide it open and hand me a clipboard and not even make eye contact.
I know.
I mean, she could have handed it to, an alien, and she wouldn't have even known it. And then you transfer to dentistry. Again, I'm so proud of dentists, and I think everybody. I know that healthcare is going to be torn upside. I know the Affordable Health Care Act is, it's going to be put on the witness stand.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I'm so proud of my 211,000 dentist homies, because what they're doing is so much better than our 1 million MD brothers who have an insane system. And I'm proud of the vets. I'm proud of the chiropractors. But back to the dentist. I mean, the one problem I still have with the dentist that I'm trying to tell them, because they think the bad guy is corporate dentistry, is that if your hygienist works 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, that's 2,000 hours. She can only clean 1,000 people's teeth for an hour twice a year. So at 25 new patients a month, you would add 4 hygienists every decade. But you come back to old man McGregor, and he's been practicing 10 years, still has that one hygienist. Come back 20 years, still has one hygienist. And by the time he's 40 years, when he should have 4, 8, 12, 16 full-time hygienists servicing 25 new patients a month, he's still got one and asking me what he should do for marketing. And I'm like, dude, you're in Parsons, Kansas. You've gone through everyone in town. When are you going to stop and say, maybe we should spend more money on consultants, patient loyalty, our staff, long-term staff training, get our house in order so that someone walks in here and says, man, God, this is a much nicer place than the last shithole I went to. In fact, I've told my team, I'm down to, every time I have a kidney stone, I get to service a hospital, and just swear I'm never going back to that one. In fact, the next one on my list is going to be an hour drive away to the Mayo Clinic.
There you go.
I told my team, I said, I'm going to try the Mayo next time. So next time I barrel over, I'm going to see if Mayo does it any better. And if dental offices could try to be more like Mayo and try to be a class act and try to be more orderly and have a new patient experience, they wouldn't be looking for new customers 10, 20, 30, 40 years later.
Right. There's a lot of really great dental practices out there. I mean, because we have so many good consultants around now, and they are really focusing on the patients. And you can definitely tell when you're walking in an office, even, as a patient, or, because we all go to the dentist too, right? And you just know when they're really truly there for the patients and the patient care. And that's one of the things that I love to be able to instill in my clients, is to learn how to do that. Because a lot of people just think it's a certain way of doing it, but it really is just the basic things like the Maslow triangle, and concentrating on all the 5 senses, and trying to look at, what are people's basic needs, and trying to implement that into your practice. So like, for instance, dentists, we generally get to see our patients more than once a year, and we create relationships with people, and looking at the person as a whole, as a person, and knowing their family, and knowing their, what their fears are, and accommodating to them, and just acknowledging certain things to patients. Because, you walk into a hospital or something, and you're getting that treatment. How different would it be if they would have been like, oh my gosh, Howard, I'm so sorry that you're hurting. Let's see what you can do. And, instead of the opposite, here's the clipboard or whatever, it's just small things like that I think what we do better as dentists. And, that's one of the things that I like to instill in my clients that I am consulting with, is just looking at, what people, their basic needs, and trying to fulfill that. And that is really going to keep the patients coming back, I believe. Do you do like,
Well, it's funny
Little
because
stuff like that at your office.
Because so many times, regularly, I'll be in some dental office. You're talking to some dentist, the staff will come in there and say, yeah, we just seated, Shirley in room 4, and we're numbing up for a PFM on 3. And he'll say, okay, and he'll tell me, he'll look at me, and he'll say, okay, 1 minute. And he'll walk in there, and he'll look right at the view box, and then he'll look at his armamentarium, and then he'll lift up the patient, and then he'll numb it up, and give her a Palatine, and run back out. I'm like, oh my God, he didn't even say hi to her.
Yeah.
He didn't even say, hey, how are you doing?
How you doing?
What's new with you?
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there thinking, oh my God, you ran in and the first thing you did was looked at the x-ray on a view box. Mm-hmm. And then you went and numbed it up. I'm like, are you out of your freaking mind?
Yeah.
I mean, she just felt like she was being treated by a droid.
Yeah. You have to bring the personal touch in.
And then when you ever talk to dentists like that, they always say, that's the soft stuff, that's fluff. They're just talking fluff. I want details. I want systems. Give me the systems. What? Mm-hmm. I'll know how to motivate myself. What's the bonus system? I'll say, the ultimate bonus system is to hire a workaholic who loves her job and works with purpose, and you would never have to bonus her for 40 years, and she'd still be crushing it.
Right.
And then you got someone with a dysfunctional attitude who's not trained, who doesn't know what's going on, who doesn't like their management, doesn't like their coworkers, and you really think giving them $100 or some bonus system at the end of the month is going to change anything?
Yeah, I do see that a lot because, most people, and that's the same thing too, is like what I implement for the patient care, you have to implement for the team as well, because people are not necessarily 100% motivated by money. You may think that, a lot of dentists think that, but it really is, it's about, having acknowledgement, thank yous, and just looking at them as a person, not just somebody that is, there's a lot of dentists that will walk in their office and never, not a good morning to their team. They just are doing whatever they're doing and they're rushing into it and they're rushing out the door, and they have never even really interact with their team during the day. And, that can really hurt the team morale. It can hurt, that could start gossiping. It creates a lot of different things that you young dentists will learn about when you start to have your own practice. But having a good coach, team, and team mentor, having consultants and coaching, they really help you push you towards things that you wouldn't be more comfortable about doing, and realizing, pointing out some things that you may be doing that you don't realize you're doing. Like, does your team do they have anything that they poke at you every once in a while?
Poke at me?
Yeah.
They poke at my gut and tell me to quit eating in the break room. Yeah, that's the main poke I get. The dentists are always thinking they're going to solve it with money, because bonuses and money is directly influential to how much money you're making. People that make $10 an hour obviously aren't money motivated, or they wouldn't be 30, 40, 50 years old making $10 an hour or $15 an hour. But since a doctor's making 175 is the average dentist, well, it's so important to that doctor that they went to 8 years of college. So standard MBA bonus say that that you should put 80% of your bonus into the high paid executives and management team, because those people are there because they were already money motivated. But the guy in the mailroom pushing them up, obviously, if he's saved up $30,000, he'd buy some race bike or some RV with a boat. I mean, they're not they never were interested in money. So if you're really interested in making money, then you're already making a lot of money. So bonus the doctors, the office manager, the people making a lot of money. And then the other people, you're going to get a lot further with like the 5 love languages, of talking to them. And so many dentists will walk in there and they're the last one to the office. They come in there, they're already 5 minutes late. They walk up to the schedule and see like a 2-hour opening in the afternoon, and then rip, Sheila a new one
who stayed late last night to try to fill it.
I know, and then you're just like, yeah, it's like where do you even start?
Yeah, it's hard. And my passion is, of course, money. We all need money to live, but my passion is to be able to help dentists. Like, of course, getting paid is great, but I think that Bonnie and Lacey are the same way too. We just love what we do. I've been in dentistry since 1990, back in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, with Dr. Ted Kroll. So it's just a matter of loving what you do. And if you have team members that are there that love what they do, and if you love what you do, it'll come through to your patients as well.
So you're from Pennsylvania, so are you a Quaker or a Quaker?
I actually lived in Quakertown for a little bit.
So you are a Quaker?
Yeah, I guess so. Have you
seen
videos of that? That's pretty scary.
It's America's got interesting roots. I mean, all those cities were formed by people leaving Europe because of the Catholic Church.
Yes.
And they were protesters. And that's why they call them Protestants. And almost all those Northeast towns, you trace them back, and this was Quakers, this was Mennonites, this was Episcopalians, and it was really, and that's why you're Irish, right?
Yes.
That's why they hated the Irish immigrants the most. I mean,
Irish German.
My family tree, they came here actually 40 years before Ellis Island. So I mean, before the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, okay.
And that's why the Irish were the most hated group, because it was 1 million at one time, just 1 million rolled up, but they were bringing their Catholic Church and building their Catholic things, and all those Protestant people were like, "Oh my God, this is why we left Europe. Who are these crazy people?" So you've been started in Pennsylvania.
Started in Pennsylvania. I started out as an assistant with Dr. Kroll, and he always inspired me because he just loved what he did. Loved what he did. God bless him. He's a pediatric dentist, so you really gotta be somebody who loves what you do.
Yeah.
And,
that's a different mindset, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and my thing is, if you can be an assistant in a pediatric office, you can do anybody, because you really can. It's like patient management right there, like 101, and you gotta kill it. But he was really good. He was super excited about dentistry and always learning about different products, and he would go around lecturing everywhere. It was Prima. He invented the little handheld shield for the curing light. He just was like, I don't know if the guy ever slept. It was just really cool. So his enthusiasm is where I've always been. And he always would write different articles and stuff and be like, you need to publish yourself. And so, because I feel like you always need to be learning. That's one thing. We all have to get C's and stuff, but I just love anything I can find. I'm going to be there. And I was just at the CEREC symposium here in town last week, and just because I'm not assisting right now, because I ended up into office management, but I just need to keep the pulse. Like I'm sure you have to too. Like you need to know what's going on and see what's going on out there, because it's crazy, isn't it? It changes.
It's funny where dentists could make more money learning from pediatric dentists than probably anything, because like CEREC, same day crown. I mean, I've been a dentist for 30 years. Compare the size of the market of patients coming in saying, I really want this crown done and I really want it done in a day, versus telling someone they need a crown and half go right into fear. Are you getting me a shot? Is it going to hurt? And if you could learn more skills from a pediatric dentist and treat every 54-year-old man as a 4-year-old little boy, and crush that patient management there, I mean, they would be 10 times more, 100 times more likely to come back to you because you said, I didn't even feel a shot. He didn't even hurt me. And all that. That'd be 100 times bigger than, and he made the crown in one appointment. That's not the deal. And that's why, they'll spend money on $5,000 of advertising to get new patients, but they won't buy a wand. And the only thing a wand is going to teach you, what I like the most about the wand is not even the wand, it's the fact that it just you're taking the damn injection serious.
Yeah.
You're giving it slow. I mean, what the wand forces you is, if you could just acknowledge that I'm really going to try to give a painless, I'd rather a dentist go after a painless injection than any fancy bell, whistle, toy, direct mail, anything clinical. It's the soft stuff with your staff. It's the soft stuff with the patient. It's the new patient experience. It's the painless injection. Those guys that are getting A's in that, they all collect $1 million and take home $350. And all the guys who get C's in that, and they go out and learn how to do bone grafting and implants and CEREC and lasers
Which
and
is
all
cool.
this stuff like that.
Cool.
but
Yeah.
it's not as cool as getting an A in
Yeah.
the people, in the new patient experience, in the staff teamwork, the painless injection, and then when you present the treatment, making it affordable. You know, you don't sit there and say, "Oh, your car is $30,000. I need it today." Let's get financing, and you just got approved, and we can fix up everything, and it's only going to be $350 a month for 60 months.
Right. And thinking about them as a person too, like we were saying earlier, it's just, or in your head, like your patients, like, oh, well, the wife really needs this and that too, so I'm gonna present everything to this patient because I need to know and I need to educate them, but I'm gonna say, it's okay. I understand that your wife, she has to get that root canal and that bridge, or we're gonna put that implant in there. It's okay if you put this off. I can wait on this because it's just a cracked tooth, and I understand, that big amalgam is starting to leak, but we could put that off for 3 months. We can watch it. If something happens, we'll get you in, we'll take care of it. Not that you necessarily want to do that, but you, even just speaking to the patient and letting them know that you even think about that kind of thing is like huge. It's like you showing up to a party or something and you have a friend there and their wife is not there because their mother passed away, and you never acknowledge or say anything about that. That's not really a good friend. And it's not that you need to be friends with everybody in your office, but you just need to be thinking about, kind of like what we're talking about with all the social media and what's going on in the news right now. We just really need to think about just being good people and connecting with people.
So should a dentist is equally nice to half his practice that's deplorables as opposed to the good half?
No.
I'm trying to make a deplorable joke.
Yeah.
It wasn't working. That was a very wild, brutal election with a lot of lessons learned for everybody.
A lot of passion out there.
Yeah, and it's I think we're always told that we need to be better listeners, and there was one businessman that could hear half the country, and the other half wasn't listening or wasn't hearing. Like say, concerned more about penguins in Antarctica than the fact that you just lost your home because I shut down your coal mine, and whether or not you're supposed to shut a coal mine down or not. It's like, well, if you do shut down a coal mine, you got to focus on Mariana over here. Who lost her home.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I just, again, I'll just say it to the end of time, but it just seems like all the dentists crushing it, and every aspect are crushing it. Even if they're a cosmetic dentist, like I've spent a day in Bill Dorfman's office in Beverly Hills and Larry Rosenthal in New York City, and these are probably the two best, most famous cosmetic dentists that probably ever lived. And I mean, when you're in there, it's 90%. They're just running for mayor, shaking their hand, hugging them, looking in the mirror, taking photos before, after. I mean, God dang, those guys are just bigger than life personalities.
And I know we received films. I know Dorfman is still he's not using digital, is he? On his films.
You know what? I mean, I don't want to go in. I don't want to get these guys mad at me or anything. But like Larry Rosenthal. I mean, and Dorfman. I mean, it's about the pizzazz and the new patient experience and the facility and the team and the excitement. And then you're sitting there thinking, oh my God, that lady just paid $50,000 for like 10 veneers, and I don't want to say they're not the best ever made, but they're not crushing it from technical expertise on materials and bonding and this and that. Yeah, absolutely.
And all the equipment. It's about
and Dorfman,
good dentistry.
is younger and higher tech than Rosenthal. I mean, I'm 54. Rosenthal's got to be 60 something. And it just shows you it's all the soft stuff. And every time I go into some hillbilly red state, filled with, deplorable Republicans, they're in a small town. They know the name of everyone's family. They're showing up at the baseball team. They got the dental shirts on, and they're always running for mayor. And when you're always running for mayor, you just have a practice of simple stuff: recalls, fillings, crowns, $1 million a year, crush it. They don't do anything fancy, nothing high tech. And then there's some guy across the street dropping $100,000 a year in CE, going to every institute, every technology, everything, and his overheads, 74%, and just
And confusing their team because they're like, okay, now what are we doing this? What are we pushing this week? Are we talking about snore guards today, or are we talking about sleep apnea, or where are we going with this? Or are we just going to be doing?
And I wouldn't even want to go to a doctor and be treated for sleep apnea when it was 1% of their practice. I mean, we've gone from 0 specialties in 1900 to by 2000 we had 58 specialties with the MDs and 9 with the dentist. I would rather have, if I was going to be treated for, say, a heart problem, I'd want to go to a cardiologist that only did hearts. If I was going to have a molar endo done, I'd rather go to an endodontist, just one guy. So when these guys said they're going to solve all their problems and add sleep apnea and Invisalign and placing implants and bone grafting, and when their strategy is I'm going to be a jack of all trades, I just sit there and say that didn't even make sense. And I sure as hell don't see that the recipe for financial success. So if paying off your $350,000 student loans, has got your attention, I don't see the success that you're a jack of all trades.
Yeah, I think that it's really hard to be good at everything. And that's why I'm with Lacey and Bonnie and Jewel, because I know that I can't be proficient at everything in the office that, from front to back. I need help. And just like a doctor, there's specialists out there for good reasons, to send them to have the specialist take care of that. Of course we can do an anterior slam dunk endo, but sometimes when you get to the back, or if it does have some issues where you don't even know, they have all the right equipment, they have the extra training, why not send them to the specialist? I mean, even as far as like little things in the office, but.
And I always send them to a specialist if I don't. I don't think you should ever have a doctor working on you that doesn't like you. And if you're just a huge, I don't know, if you're like toxic, and I'm just sitting here thinking, I use a lot of the specialists as getting rid of crazy people.
Yeah.
And so okay, but go through. So these people are commuting to work. Who should be calling Practice Dynamics, and who should be talking to Jewel Hutsdale in Sacramento, California, or Susan Sim in Scottsdale, or Bonnie Pugh in Albuquerque, or Lacey Phillips in Florida? What kind of clients do you like? I mean, what kind of problems do you like to solve? I mean, when you just scroll down on the practice management, some people, it's a lot of problems are my overhead's massively high and my labor's out of whack, and my hygienist wants to meet me at lunch to get a raise. I mean, do you like doing HR? Do you like doing overhead? What types of people listening to you now should be calling Practice Dynamics at, what is the website? PracticeDynamics.net.
.net, yep.
PracticeDynamics.net at 888-425-3235. 888-425-3235. Who should be calling you guys?
Anyone that feels that, pretty much anyone should be calling us, is what I think, because everybody needs a coach. If you have a coach, good for you. And if it's working for you, that's awesome. We can custom design anything that you need. So if you call us, for instance, our insurance is like crazy and we don't know what's going on. We would first pull the numbers. We start small, and then if you need more, we just add more on. As far as, we start small with the GPS, which is we just collect your numbers, and then we'll go into talking to you about what's going on, and the good things we see, the things that you can improve on. And then from there, if you're still feeling like you have some areas where it's just not improving, then we come in and we'll do a focused workshop. So we go there for 2 days. We first do like an on-site watch you for a day, and so you still see your patients. There's no downtime in that respect. And the second day we'll do a 4-hour team meeting and workshop on the things that we talk about, because we'll talk about everything to the doctor, and then we'll try to get the team on board, and we give a directive of things that we think that need to change, or things that, maybe some things are working good, but to embellish on them. And then from there, we do 3 months of support where you can call us and we coach you through the numbers and track you and try to cheer you along to, success in that whatever area. Or if you have a couple different things, we'll come in different times, like for other workshops. Or if there's like a whole bee's nest that you have to take care of, we can sign you on for like 12 or 18 months of coaching. So that would be like we're on site every quarter, and we do the GPS, taking the numbers.
What's GPS stand for?
It's
global public square with Fareed Zakari every Sunday morning on CNN.
So what we do is we will remote into your
computer price
software.
And who does that? Does Bonnie always do that, or do all of you do that?
We all do that, but if we're having definitely Bonnie is the guru in that. So if there's something that's not quite making sense to me, we have.
But how much would it cost for one of my homies to have you do the GPS, where they just start and say, hey, all I want you to do is what do they do? They give you a password to their Dentrix, or
yeah, we do a password, and then we set up our own username within your like log me in or whatever it may be, so that everything's
how much does it
compliant.
cost to do just that? So a third-party expert can look at all your numbers and just get a diagnosis and treatment plan of what's going on.
So just doing the GPS, and it includes 3 months of that. It's $1,000 a month. But for your homies, we're going to be offering $895 for a special for the dental townies that.
Oh, so you should charge them $1,100.
$1,100, okay.
Because they get my damn show for free. I do this for free. My guests are free. I just can't imagine that a dentist would, because I would say if I asked 100 dentists who walked out of a room and they just did any form of dentistry, whether it was a clean exam and x-ray with a hygienist, or the dentist did 2 MOD composites on 2 and 3. If I ask 100 dentists, what exactly did you just bill for that? They're never right, because they got 12 different PPO. And then if I say, well, what did you make on that? They never know. And it's like that's the state of dentistry today, because Dentrix and Dentrix and Eaglesoft refuse to hook up their software to Quicken.
Right.
So all their customers are somewhere between, Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles when it comes to the accounting.
Yeah,
and then the dentist only has to do 1 crown or 1 molar root canal or 1 root canal about crown for $1,000 to have someone like you guys tell them what's going on in their business, and they'll say no. And then they'll go to the Pankey Institute, Poised, Spear, Scottsdale, or buy some goddamn their 6th implant system.
Right.
And I get it. I'm not going to confess how many implant systems I have, because I get it. I completely understand these guys, because I am one. But god dang, you just have to know your numbers.
Yeah. So this is it would be equivalent to somebody starting 3 quads of perio without have done their perio charting. That's what
and no x-rays.
And if you don't know your numbers, this is basically us coming in and perio charting your office, seeing where you are. Are you bleeding? Are you have a separation somewhere? What's going on with, is there mobility? This is the basic, and we're offering it to $895. And then from there, there's the workshops, which is, it's for 3 months, it's $895, and so it's $895 a month for your. I'm sorry, it's $1895. So it's $2,000 regular. It's $1895 for the special for the dental townies, and it's $18.95 for 3 months. And we will come in, do a two-day workshop, and then we have 3 months of the GPS where we're going to pull your numbers, and we're going to...
But when you're in these offices doing workshops, I mean, what is the more common workshop problems? I mean, is it more staff morale? Is it more overhead? Is it more processes and systems, like how to bill and run insurance statements? Where would you put them in first, second, and third? There's people, processes, overheads.
I would say, so we do, probably the biggest one is insurance. That's what a lot of people, it's
so processes, systems.
Processes and systems, and that it's a huge one. And then we also do a disc profile where it's like a team. So working on the team.
So you'd say processes is probably the most common, or supply and demand. You're supplying a solution. The biggest demand would be like processes and insurance, and then second would be people.
Yeah, second would be people.
Yeah. And when you walk into an office, like, what is the average size that's usually getting help? I mean, is it?
Usually it's around 8 to 10 people.
8 to 10?
Yeah.
And see, that's another thing. That's a big office compared to 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So are most of your offices one dentist or two?
Most of them are one.
One dentist.
And then they have 2 to 3 hygienists, 2 to 3 front desks, 2 to 3 assistants. So it's just kind of...
Okay, guys, I just tricked a confession out of her. I just totally tricked you. Did you see what she just said? What is your average dentist? I mean, we all know what average dentist is. An average dentist is one dentist, 2 assistants, no to 1 hygienist, and 1 girl up front. And what did she just say? 1 dentist, 3 hygienists, how many assistants?
2 to 3.
And how many up front?
2 to 3.
8 people. Because the successful $1 million practices are the only ones that are getting consultants. And then the peasants, should we start calling them deplorables now? The practice management deplorables, they never raise their hand and get help. They're always at the Pankey Institute learning how to do tri-perfect occlusion, and they know no overhead. I mean, the delusion that the consultants work in is the consultants are delusional because they're only working with the top 20% of the clients. The 80% who need her more than anything will never raise their hand for help.
That's true.
And then I go at some and look at, there's some offices out there that the numbers are like, you couldn't make this shit up. And I don't want to say his name because he'll get back to Jerome Smith in Lafayette, Louisiana. And it's like you find these guys that are just crushing it, and they still hire $50,000 consultants every single year because they're so smart. They're like, well, you know what? If they just came in and just did one thing, if they just made us grow 1% or lower over, if they just did anything, I'll always get my $50,000 back. I mean, they're paying $50,000. They're not doing $1,000 a month. I mean, they'll all the people I know crushing it don't blink. I mean, they'll try every consultant.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say, well, who's your consultant? They say, I've done them all, man. If they can come in here and just do one thing, it's a return on investment. And then I go into offices where the dentist is almost suicidal. He's eating Vicodin, drinking Listerine between patients, and just wants to quit. And then you say, well, what are you gonna do next? Oh, I'm gonna try to get my diploma in the International Academy of Who Gives a Shit. Because I really believe if I learn sleep apnea and snore medicine and all these things, it'll get my house in order. And I'm like, dude, if you get your house in order, you can fly first class to those oral health summits and stay in a $500 night resort and just enjoy your trade, your craft, your dentistry.
Yeah, you'll get, one of the questions I always like, what keeps you up at night, doctor? Like, what is keeping you up at night?
Me, I'd say 3 cats.
3 cats.
It's my 3 cats.
Because that right there will be the answer to like what a lot of them, like if you are sitting there listening to this podcast and you're trying to figure out like, well, maybe do I need one or do I not need one? What's eating at you? What's keeping you up at night? What is preventing you from having a fulfilled life? And is your practice running you or are you running your practice? And that's what a really good coach can do. I think that's what we can help create value for your quality of life, because you don't want your practice to be overrunning you and being that crazy train that a lot of offices end up in because, you go to school, how many classes do you have on business?
0.
Yeah, or how many, working with being an HR person or knowing insurance, and you really need to have people that can help support you and, give you the confidence too, because if you're sitting there telling your office manager, you need to do it this way and that way, sometimes they're like, well, they don't know what they're talking about or whatever, but you're like, if you have the reinforcement of, this is what I need you to do because this is what, the consultant's telling me to do. Sometimes that is helpful as well. But, I would say people to not call us, people don't call us if you're not willing to listen, willing to change, willing to hear us. Because that's a very, there's a lot of people who will call us and be like, nope, where we're doing is perfect and great. And I'm like, okay, well, you called us for a reason. And, and they still will be stuck in that mindset of, well, this is where we've been doing fine, we're doing great. I'm like, okay, well, there's a reason why you called me. So you have to really, everybody has to be on board. And sometimes that's the hardest thing, is really it's changing people's way they're thinking about their business.
So 5 frogs on a log.
Uh-huh.
One decides to jump. How many are left?
One decides to jump out. I would say 4.
And you just nailed it, because there's 5 left because one decided to jump, but he didn't jump. And, you got to be the one frog that jumps. And the consultants, I'm trying to expose them all to the fact that they think the average dental office in America does 1 to 1.5 million. And that's not, the average dental office does 745. It's the 1 out of 5 frog that decides to jump on a consulting that is always in the top 20%. Mm-hmm. And, so 5 frogs on a log, one decides to jump. How many left? There's 5. Well, don't be the frog that decides to jump. Make a decision to jump and jump off that damn log. Jump off the log of having 8 to 12 PPO plans and not knowing what your break-even points are. Just saying that you want to add a hygienist. Almost every dentist that's ever asked me, should I go from 1 hygienist to 2, you can go in there and figure out how much money they're losing per cleaning exam and x-ray, and then tell them the exact number of full-time hygienists they'd have to declare Chapter 7. Complete bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Be the dentist. And an endodontist goes to 3 extra years of school to just do molar root canals. Mm-hmm. And you got people out there who have just been doing practice management consulting for 3 years, 6 years, 9 years, 12 years, and this is their core expertise. And they cost money because they're valuable. And you're saying you have plans as low as $1,000 a month.
Yeah, and then if you do the 12-month, it's $2,500, but for your townies, we'll do it for the $2,200. So it's 12 months, and it includes the GPS where we pull the numbers, give you the reports, and give you our feedback. You also have weekly calls. And then it includes the workshops.
And you guys don't have do they sign a contract where they're married to you for a year, or is this month to month?
It's if you end up, I think it's it's a 12-month contract. But if you want to do just month to month, you could do the workshops.
Yeah, month to month is awesome, especially when you're thinking about getting married. Just go with the month to month plan. Do not sign the contract.
But we don't want to push anybody into anything they don't want. We are going to do the limited amount.
But you know what? But I know these. I know this company. I mean, they can actually tell you at the end of the year the money you gave them versus the year before. Mm-hmm. I mean, they'll show you the math. I mean, last year you did $1, you took home a dime. You gave them a dime this year, and you did $1.20. And I mean, it's just. I mean, that's what every one of my consultant friends will tell me, though. They don't even know what their consultants cost half the time, because they'll just say, all I know is that, we did this company last year, and I made $17,000 more take home last year than the year before. Mm-hmm. Yet you gave them a chunk of change. Mm-hmm. But their net just keeps going up. I mean, it's that they're netting more and more and more money. And it just comes down to what is the return on investment. And I think it just comes down to, the older I get to realize, there'll always be science because there'll always be natural curiosity. People are always going to look out in the universe and say, what the hell's out there?
Right.
Some people are naturally curious about why do root canals work and not work. And what's amazing on that is the endodontists, who are far more focused, only run about a 5% higher success rate than the general dentist. So they go to all this extra stuff, and they're having about a 95% 5-year survival rate on a first molar. And the general dentist is having a 90%. So the endodontist adds a scope and this and training and all that. And they're basically only saving one more molar out of 20 out of 5 years. And if you have that natural curiosity to the business and marketing and social media and advertising and all that kind of stuff, that's awesome and you'll do well. But if you don't have that, you have to buy that. And some dentists are lucky because their spouse loves it. And she just wants to do dentistry, and her husband just loves that. Some find an office manager. I was very lucky in my career. My $12 an hour bookkeeper, who I wouldn't know my cost, so I hired a bookkeeper to sit down right next to me, hammering out all those numbers. So she was overhearing all my life and all my decisions. Well, now, she's my president. She's been with me, I don't know, 98 to 2016, so 18 years. And so I have kind of the Bonnie and Clyde thing going on where I can do dentistry, but I got this full-time bookkeeper sitting with me for 18 who knows all my numbers. I mean, we've created some of the most crazy, huge Excel spreadsheets. Some of our Excel spreadsheets are 2 feet by 2 feet. And of course, we've wondered for 20 years why the dentists don't demand that their practice management software does all this stuff. And now to run my deal, I got Lori and Stacy, and I have 3 full-time, basically they're bookkeepers, 3 full-time bookkeepers to do all this sophisticated stuff. And I got my MBA at ASU. Yet if I would have bought a franchise for Long John Silver's, that shit would all be in the software. Mm-hmm. And dentistry has none of it because you guys don't demand it. And I've written columns on this. I mean, I've been writing a monthly column in dentistry since 1994, and it's 2016. And I've been telling those guys to demand this. And when I talk to the head dog of Patterson, like Stan Bergman, I mean, they're not getting just not even a whiff of interest in what I've been saying for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
So that's why there's this huge consulting industry. You can also see why there's a huge consulting industry in dentistry. Same goes to Microsoft versus Apple. Microsoft's products are so shitty, there's this massive consulting industry that was teaching you PowerPoint and Word and Excel and these DVD programs to help teach you how to learn all this stuff. So Microsoft software was so shitty, they spun like a 50,000 person industry and teach you how to use their shitty software. Mm-hmm. And then Steve Jobs came out and said, we're going to make our software so good that no one's going to have to explain it to you. So then you had all these people on Apple and MacBook Pro and splicing and making movies on, and you almost can't find anyone to teach you how to do that, because if you just start playing around with the software, you'll figure it out. And dentistry is in the Microsoft camp.
Yeah.
Their software is so shitty, there's an entire peripheral industry of dental consulting. Because basically they have no idea what's going on. And it was basically designed that way because my homies don't sit there and send letters up the chain. They don't, when their monthly supply rep doesn't come by and says, where's my bill? Say, hey, why don't you jump on Dentrix and generate the bill? Oh, it doesn't do bills. That's why I have no idea what's going on. If every dentist just said, yeah, I'll pay Patterson and Shine as soon as my computer software can generate a check. Because if it could generate a check, it'd have your payables and receivables. And if you hooked up that to all the prices on your PPO fee schedules, mm-hmm. and then your appointment calendar, so you're writing all the bills, and then you're seeing all the prices, and then the schedule knows how much time you're doing it, voila! They'd say, you just were in room 3, you just did something for $230, and it cost you $240.
I see a new software company starting up, Mr. Hours.
I know, maybe I should. But hey, I just want to tell you seriously, to come in on your day off on a Saturday to my home to let Ryan film us a podcast, and to do that for free to all my homies out there. Big shout out to Lacey. I can see Lacey right now. She's wearing a big old hat right out of the 20s. She's trying out for a Great Gatsby movie. Bonnie, and I want to get your fourth one on someday. So your fourth one, the lady in Sacramento, Jewel.
She's gonna be coming out here real soon. Her and I are gonna be hitting some offices here in town together. And
Well, tell Jewel that she's got an open invitation if she can come down to the poor part of town and meet the Phoenix
it's
people.
beautiful here. Your mountain is gorgeous.
Yeah, that's why I liked it.
Yeah.
You know, I was born and raised in Kansas, and it was flat. I mean, Kansas just was completely flat. When I came out here, the first thing I fell in love with was that mountain. And it's just, I never lived in an area that was 3D. It was just an area, I mean, when I was born in Wichita, you look one way, you could see Oklahoma, and the next way you could see Nebraska. And I love that mountain.
I have a good joke for you.
Okay.
So, the only place, Kansas, the only place where your dog runs away and you still see him running a day later.
My favorite Kansas joke is I love that joke, it's true in Kansas. I mean, you know, the tornadoes, it's a solid wind. You know, they're coming down from Alaska, around the Rockies. It's just a solid wind. The wind is always blowing. And when I was little, one day the wind stopped blowing just for 1 minute and everyone fell down. Thanks, Ryan, for filming
Thank you so much.
on a Saturday.
I
Even my son
appreciate
works
it.
on his day off.
Thank you for helping
All right,
me.
thank you so much.